Hey, how's it going everyone? Forspoken has been on my to-do list or my bucket list since the moment I saw the trailer for it. I did some research and here's everything you need to know about the game. Forspoken is an upcoming game set to be published by Square Enix and in development at Luminous Productions. It's set to boast a vast open world with an expansive magic system and swift traversal. Originally revealed as Project Athia, fans have been eagerly anticipating more information on how its gameplay systems will work, especially since we've seen the protagonist reveal incredible powers. Now on to its release date. Forspoken was slated for a May 24 release date, but in an incredibly common move, the development team pushed it back to October 11 to finish, quote, polishing the game. Announced during PlayStation's Future of Gaming showcase last year under the codename Project Athia, the reveal trailer gave us a vague idea of what to expect from its gameplay and world. Back in March of 2021, the game received its final title as Forspoken, along with a deeper look onto its story. Forspoken is in development with Luminous Productions, which is a subsidiary of Square Enix. This is the same group that worked on Final Fantasy XV before assembling their own team for original titles. The team was originally founded by Final Fantasy XV's director, and I'm sorry for killing the name here, Hajime Tabata, shortly before he left the team to pursue his own game development. Square Enix has plenty on its slate already with Babylon's Fall, Triangle Strategy, Chocobo GP, and Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins, so the delay perhaps shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, and of course hopefully it leads to a smooth launch in October. Now for the most important section of this video, the gameplay. Forspoken seeks to give the player the tools to explore an open world utilizing an expansive magic system and the ability to seamlessly leap around environments. Director Takeshi Aramaki claims the game uses fluid movement, with Square Enix describing it as narrative-driven adventure. Forspoken's most recent trailer offered a deeper look into what to expect from the story, but there are a few moments of gameplay worth analyzing. We see our protagonist Frey Holland running around an area as a dragon swipes at her. She also traps a couple of flying monsters in a water orb, sets magically imbued explosive traps, summons a flame sword to whack foes, turns enemies to ice, fluidly leaps between the tops of buildings, conjures shifty platforms underneath her to elevate herself temporarily, and even pulls herself onto a tether to clear a gap. She can even launch magical projectiles from her palm like a machine gun. With Final Fantasy XV, Luminous Production took a dive into developing an open-world narrative-driven game. However, the team's engaging main missions were held back by a large yet empty world with repetitive side quests. A sense of scale was most hindered by the player being unable to explore the gigantic setting fluidly. The Regalia, the game's iconic vehicle, was certainly unique, but it was more of a nice way to look at the environment rather than actually leaving your car and running around in it. On the other hand, Forspoken could thrive with a world similar in size to the one in Final Fantasy XV. After what we've seen of Forspoken's fluid movement that has Frey jumping off cliffs in between rocks, these environments can be justifiably huge without feeling daunting to explore. It might be important to emphasize a slight emptiness in the setting. If Forspoken is overwhelmed with cities, character, and quests, players will have their parkour frequently interrupted by things to interact with. Climbing and sprinting at breakneck speeds makes exploration more satisfying, giving Luminous Productions the ability to keep its environments open with significant distance between landmarks to encourage the player to be on the move at all times. Forspoken received a new trailer at 2021's The Game Awards. We learned the game is scheduled to release on May 24. This trailer also showcased quite a few details about the world and story, as it seems Frey has been outcasted by the powers that rule the fantasy world. One of the highlights from this trailer features a dragon-like creature made of tree roots shooting a laser of blue fire at Frey. Forspoken was given a new trailer during a sunny state of play in March, showcasing a battle against a gigantic dragon, plenty of the incredible powers at the player's disposal, and many shots of the game's expansive landscapes. And now on to the story of Forspoken. The basis of Forspoken's narrative might seem familiar to some, as it revolves around a character from a modern-day setting getting transported to a fantasy world. This is often referred to as an isekai, which is a popular genre in Japan within video games, anime, and manga. The plot centers around someone suddenly appearing in another world. In the game's story trailer, we hear dialogue where Frey Holland is blown away by the sudden powers she develops, whether referencing how she can move stuff with her mind and use magic. She is even further amazed by the presence of a dragon, so we can expect that the game will feature plenty of dialogue where the main character is reacting to the world alongside the player. Isekai often revolves around themes of redemption and growth, pushing the main character to shift their perspective on the value of life by giving them a new one to live. This is evident in the game's story trailer, as we see Frey bullied in an alley as she's punched in the stomach and falls to the ground. She makes a wish on top of a giant hotel sign after she speaks to her cat about how they're gonna escape the city. Frey wishes for clean air, bright skies, and no more fights, and suddenly she's transported into a mysterious fantasy realm filled with magic and monsters. By giving Frey a sympathetic backstory, it's easier for players to get absorbed in her escapist power fantasy. She goes comes from a bullied nobody in an overpacked city to a powerful magician that has the fate of the world resting on her shoulders. Considering this trope is pretty common, Forspoken's narrative needs to shine most in its execution. We can anticipate the game's main themes, so it's up to the script and performances to carry the weight of the story. For our next section in this video, it has to be the game's setting. Now, Forspoken takes place in a mysterious fantasy realm filled with dragons, kingdoms, and magic. Most of the environments shown in footage are expansive to encourage the player to sprint and parkour through them. Additionally, we've seen Frey face off against monsters, bears, wolves, stone giants, and a mysterious boss in the throne room. One thing I've noticed while analyzing the game's story trailer is that every instance of architecture is overgrown, and a few structures are in ruin. We barely see any characters in the outside environment, with the only two speaking to Frey in an interior. Perhaps Forspoken's world is post that populated with empty cities ravaged by monsters and wrought by war. Fans have also theorized that Forspoken is the evolution of Agni's philosophy, which was a Final Fantasy tech demo revealed in 2012 to showcase what the future of the series could look like. Considering this demonstration was from Luminous, it would make sense that there's a slight evolution from those ideas in Forspoken, especially since the aesthetic is similar. Our last section of this video has to be the graphics, and to be more specific, ray tracing. So Forspoken will feature ray tracing technology, as confirmed by Square Enix president Yusuke Matsuda. I'm sorry for killing your name, man. As translated by Jimatsu, Matsuda claims that PS5 dramatically improves video technology, such as with the implementation of light reflecting ray tracing technology. Compared to what you see on PC, it is nearly identical. By utilizing these special traits, we're able to create incredibly precise imagery. Considering how other PS5 games handle ray tracing, we can probably expect a performance and fidelity mode, where the latter puts the game at 30 FPS to achieve a 4K resolution and implement ray tracing technology. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart had fidelity, performance, and performance ray tracing modes to allow players more customizability in how they wanted to experience the game. If possible, Forspoken should implement a similar system. I'm not gonna say anything about the PC version because the options or settings for graphics on PC are just more in general. This is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, hit that like button, get subscribed for more, leave me a comment if you have anything else on mind, and I'll see you tomorrow with a new one. Enjoy.